Next question will go to Mickey. Some people believe it is a congressman's purpose to bring home the bacon for their district. Others believe that the district is better served by a congressman who serves the national interest. Looking at Dan Boren's record regarding the bills he introduced, it's easy to come to the conclusion that he uses legislation to pander for votes. If you were elected, what would be the first legislation you would introduce and why?
You know, I'm not sure what the first bill would be, but I know personally that my input, if I am there, is to watchdog any of this pork programs. I don't believe that it's the job of the representative to bring the bacon home for their districts or whatever. Every person that I see here and every person that votes for me is going to understand that I will not be beholden to any special interest. This, you know, the way that Dan Boren has just looked out for himself and his special interest, that's going to stop. That's what people don't want anymore. So as far as the legislation goes, it's going to be to scrutinize and repeal any bills that we have that are not in the best interest of we the people and is not in the best interest of saving our tax dollars.
The role of a representative is to be a public servant, to listen and heed the will of the citizenry, so long as the will of the citizenry is constitutional. If it's not constitutional, it is the role of the representative to explain why it isn't constitutional. As I mentioned earlier, the first piece of legislation that I would introduce or co-sponsor would be to repeal Obamacare. That is a statement that I issued soon after the President signed it into law. With that said, right behind it, right at the same time, would to be to author legislation to require the federal government to have a balanced budget. Those two are extremely important, especially the balanced budget, but also the first thing would be to repeal Obamacare.
In short, earmarks are bad, because if we take money from one group of people in one district and we bring that money into this district and the other district is shortchanged. So earmarks are bad. I'm not going to go for earmarks. The first piece of legislation that I would like to introduce, and I think it's important that we have to look at what is realistic. I said earlier that the chances of repealing this Obamacare are slim to none. I think it would be a waste of time, a waste of your time, a waste of my time to write legislation to try and repeal Obamacare, because it's not going to happen as long as he's in office. So one of the first things that I would like to see happen, that I think we could get enough congressmen and enough senators on board, would be to actually fund the fence along our southern border.
There are so many first things that need to be done. I truly think that the very first one, and just because it's going to be tough, it has to be addressed, and that is the health control proposal. That is the straw, I truly believe, that will break the back of America with its spending. We've already heard that we're approaching 88% of our debt to gross domestic product ratio. We are at an unsustainable level. And what does that mean? If we do not have Thatcher-like cuts in spending and Reagan-like cuts in taxes, we will go the way of Rome. And ladies and gentlemen, we are a great nation, a great country, and it is up to us. And as Reagan said, if not now, when? If not who? Us. The first piece of legislation must be to repeal and to fight against the spending caused by this health care bill. And then we have to fight to decrease the size of government through controlling its spending. We are at a level that there's no way that I can put to you that we have to decrease the money coming from our pockets going to government. We cannot afford that for every person in this room, and my 9-year-old son back there, and every other child in the United States of America, include that one right there. We have to do it for them. Thank you.
The next question will go to Daniel. The citizens and businesses of this country are already overtaxed at all levels of government. The complexities of compliance with the tax code has become a huge burden for business and families alike. Many citizens don't realize that as the Federal Reserve prints money to finance our government, it lowers the value of our money and therefore is effectively a hidden tax. Would you support the elimination of the federal income tax?
Yes, I would. I would be very supportive of eliminating the individual federal income tax. We need to get away from taxing productivity, which is what a tax on income or a business tax is. We need to be more in line with a consumption tax, which is what the fair tax is. Let's quit causing problems for individuals and businesses by limiting their growth and their capabilities because we want to tax them. It's extremely hypocritical of our federal government to ask you to be very successful, not only as an individual, but as a business, and then because you are, tax you at a higher rate. Let's move to a consumption tax, which includes everyone who purchases goods. Let's get away from taking money out of your pocket simply because of your income level or your corporation income level. Let's put the money back in your pocket and allow you to spend it as you see fit.
I would definitely support the elimination of the income tax. I might even dance in the streets of Washington. One of the things, though, that we must keep in mind when we talk about taxation, we must keep in mind that the system of taxation is only a very small part of the problem. The overwhelming majority of the size of the problem is Congress. All right? So what we must do is we must work first and foremost on correcting the corruption in Congress. Now, I do not believe that the income tax makes any sense whatsoever. The income tax is absolute insanity to tax your productivity. It's completely insane. But we must keep in mind that it is the corruption in Washington, D.C. that is the primary problem.
I'm surprised you didn't hit the 1913 deal into constitutionality. Look, the federal income tax is draconian. Our Internal Revenue Code is the one that was passed in 1986. It is out of date. It started at around 1,000 pages. Mickey hit on it. It's grown to well over 60,000 pages today. That code is being used by members of Congress to pick winners and losers in the business world because they get to give subsidies and tax credits to certain businesses and others don't get them. Now, what does that run contrary to? It runs contrary to the principles of free market capitalism, which, by the way, is highly successful. History tells us that it can grow, maintain, and sustain large economies of scale like this earth has never seen. Great. The United States of America is one of them. It's very successful at that. Central planning systems are either abject failures or they're completely lacking. I support the fair tax. I will support the fair tax because it's a consumption tax. And it has a prebate system built in to take care of lower income families and individuals. It is fair. It's exact words. Thank you.